Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another video. So in today's video I'm going to be doing my first decorating on a floating island as well as with angled rotation, and I'm going to be making this little floral village. I wanted to use the new greenhouse and I kind of was trying to figure out ways to decorate it, and I decided to create a little mini village with it. It does look a bit out of place because it's the only thing on this floating island currently, but I wanted to create something really floral, really bright and create this very beautiful scene. So let's get started. So as you can tell, we are on the Forest of Valor floating island. You could probably do this build though in any biome you wanted to. I just felt like I wanted to use this one the most because I was the most excited about this one, honestly. So I went in and placed 3 different houses. I placed the new greenhouse cottage from the premium shop, the floral cottage that we got a while ago in the game for being founders, and then I also placed Merida's cottage from the Storybook Vale because I felt like it went with the floral vibe in here, and I really wanted to try and do something with her house. I probably won't keep her house here. I will give her like a more specific build for her, but I wanted to use it just for the purpose of this video and kind of include it in this little village because I felt like it fit really well. And once I kind of got all the houses in and started figuring out their locations, adding in other big furniture items like the gazebo, I then started figuring out how to kind of border these houses. I used some of the new craftable stone walls that are from the Storybook Vale, so there are Storybook Vale things in this build, but not too much, just a few different pieces, and I started dotting around everything but I felt like made sense. I added obviously a lot of flower pots around by the greenhouse and started figuring out the layout of some of these furniture items that I knew I wanted to include and working out how to angle these to kind of give them a new fresh look. It was all a bit of a trial and error learning experience for me doing this build, so I probably will improve and get better with this over time, because I did struggle, I have to be honest, because angling was just something completely new for me in this game. I hadn't obviously done any decorating until I'd done this, so this was like my learning curve. So I will obviously have to practice and get a bit better, but I hope you enjoy it regardless, and you can kind of see my thought process as I'm figuring out how to get used to this very new way of decorating. So with the 3 different houses in the different areas, I wanted to kind of include a different thing for each one. Obviously the floral greenhouse, I wanted to include the gazebo, and I also wanted to create a really cute little picnic area with one of the rugs. So that is what I start kind of piecing together. Then obviously for Merida's, I wanted it to have a lot more of a kind of like rustic look, nothing too bright and too colourful, a lot of the craftable items. And then at the back of the flowery summer cottage, I wanted it to feel like an actual kind of garden for this house. So I included the line thing that we got from the Agrabah Market premium shop bundle, which I really like the look of as being like a washing line. Obviously I know it's not supposed to be, but as we don't have a proper like washing line in game, that is what I'm using it for. So I started kind of figuring out where all these different kind of areas were going to go. I added some more of these stone brick fences. I couldn't use as much as I wanted to because these are very expensive to craft, and I don't have all the resources for them yet, so over time I will be able to kind of use them more and add more. But I wanted to kind of make sure in this build I didn't use too much of the new Storybook Vale stuff in the sense of the craftables, because I know for a fact that a lot of people won't have had time to kind of grind the craftables and have all this new crafted stuff to use. So I didn't want you to feel like you couldn't achieve this build if you hadn't really grinded for resources out there or you were struggling to kind of get everything crafted. So I did use some of these fences and a couple of other little craftable items, but nothing too much, just so that for those of you who don't have Storybook Vale feel like you could easily change this out for a different furniture piece. And also if you do have it, you don't feel like you're trying to kind of keep up with getting resources, because trust me, I'm in the same boat. It is a lot of resources for all the new craftable stuff and I'm making my way through them very slowly. So I wanted wanted it to feel like an achievable and attainable build. Then after that I went in, added some trees. Now I wanted the kind of forested area around this whole section to be very bright, very colourful, and use a lot of different trees. So I used a variety from the base game and Storybook Vale to give it this really bright and colourful look, and I also added in some of the floral bushes from the Storybook Vale because these are perfect in this little flower village. Obviously if you don't have Storybook Vale, just change these out for some base game ones or some Rift in Time ones if you have those. They are definitely something you can chop and change out, but I definitely wanted to include them because I felt like they just fit perfectly for this vibe. And then I continued adding more trees around the edge to give it this really nice enclosed space, so it felt like this really secluded little village, and you can obviously see the edge of the floating island as well. Now something I did love using in this build, which you can actually get from that DLC, is the flower pathway. This is actually from doing Moana's tapestry, so if you have done that you'll get this really cute pathway, and I felt like this was so much nicer to use now that we can angle it because it looks a lot more natural on the floor. And then I added in a bunch of the big flowers from Ever After, some of the little mushrooms to kind of give it this whimsical look. As I've said before with everything in this build, if you don't have the DLC, just change it out for something that's in the base game. Use your imagination and kind of like figure out what would work best for you. You may decide that these kind of aren't your vibe. I just felt like the big flowers really made sense. And then I went in and added in a load of our traditional base game floral plants and foliage to bulk out this outside area and really make it feel like an overgrown forest, and also some of the long beach grass as well to give it this overgrown look. Now for the pathway in this build, I actually didn't want to go for a traditional place pathway just because so much in this build was angled. I knew doing a kind of strict path would be quite difficult, plus I wanted it to feel really, really natural and really whimsical. So to give it that kind of fairy core look, I really went for the rock spots. I used them to lead to the different houses, to lead into the back kind of garden spaces of some of the buildings, and I also dotted them around in some of the open areas to really make it feel like they are natural rock spots. And I kind of figured those out into the center where there is one of the Beauty and the Beast fountains. I was really not sure about including this because I felt like it looked quite built up compared to the natural look of everything else, but I do go in and decorate around it after, which kind of blends it in more, which you'll see later on. But I wanted to include something in that center point to be like the main focus point of this little village and feel like a place where people would gather. And then I obviously continued adding a lot more foliage around. It's something that you'll notice in this build is very foliage heavy, which I guess makes sense for like a floral build because it's gonna be very overgrown, but that is something I definitely included a lot of here. Obviously, as this is a floating island and I have nothing else here, I didn't really worry about item limits and stuff like that, so I did use a lot. But obviously if I do expand this build to the rest of the island, I will kind of move things about, change things about, and figure it out from there. Now, as you can see, the next thing I did is I went into my inventory of flowers and I added a load of flowers to this build. I used base game, Rift in Time and Storybook Vale flowers in this build, so there is a lot. And obviously I dropped one of each down and then I started placing a few of them around the build. I tried to get them in between bushes, in the kind of front and back of the buildings, include them into these little spots. I felt like they made sense, and I wanted to go for this super floral look. I wanted to give it the vibe as though these flowers had naturally grown here. This was just how the village looked. So there is going to be a lot of flowers about, as you'll see. I'm starting to place them around. I went for a variety of different colours and styles, but this is a really good way to decorate if you don't have a lot of furniture or you're worrying about how much foliage you have. Flowers are great because you can just obviously grab these in the biomes as you're running around, and then you can add them to a build to really elevate it. It made this whole kind of open grass area feel a lot less bare and added a lot more colour into a very bright build. This was already very colourful and I felt like it did a lot to add to that. Something else I also did add as well around the build, which you won't really see in this view because they're so small, is I added some of the snippets from Storybook Vale. I added some of the bird ones and the frog ones because I wanted them to look like kind of natural little creatures that were living in this village. I felt like it just made sense that this would be a very like busy space with lots of creatures, and obviously as we don't have natural spawned critters up here, I felt like the snippets just worked really well. So I dotted some of those about in some of the kind of like open areas, and then I expanded the rock pathway to go all the way around the fountain, and then I started adding some of the craftable little flower topiaries to go around the fountain to kind of make it seem a lot more fitting. It looked a bit out of place before and I felt like this helped a lot to blend it in and add to the floral feel. And then I added some flowers around to the rest of the open spaces as well as some meadow grass to finish up the decoration. So this is the final build, as you can see coming around from the front. I just wanted to give you a shot of how it looks, and as you can see straight away, it is very bright, it is very colourful, there are flowers absolutely everywhere. And on the left, the first house we have obviously is Merida's, which I felt like tied in really well with this spot. She's got some little chairs outside to sit and hang out with friends, and then obviously I added some of the snippets around the front of her house. And then on the opposite side we have the little floral summer cottage, which again, very bright, very colourful. I used some of the little signposts to kind of lead you in, and then obviously some of the little craftable lampposts all around the build as well. And then in the centre we have our little fountain, which I felt like the topiaries around the edge made it look a little bit less out of place, and then obviously added lots of flowers around that. And then behind the flowery summer cottage we have the little back garden where we've got the little kind of like rug hanging line as a washing line, a little washing basket, and then some books and some other little kind of eclectic items to really make it feel lived in and make it feel like someone actually lived here and used this. And then as we head round, we have got the left side of where Merida's kind of ends, and we have got the gazebo spot for the greenhouse. I absolutely love this house, and I feel like I've kind of done my best to blend it in and really add a floral feel to it. In the gazebo we've got a little Beauty and the Beast picnic blanket for people to hang out in, and then we have our little section where the greenhouse is, where I wanted to include a load of pots, a tool rack, a little compost bin that you get from Sally's Quest, and lots of the little flower boxes and sacks of soil and stuff. I wanted it to really feel like someone used this greenhouse and was kind of invested in planting all the flowers flowers. And then around the other side we have got our picnic spot. I used one of the rugs from the Charlotte bundle and then placed loads of food and loads of books and stuff on it with the little windmill behind, as you can see in these shots, to create this cute little picnic spot. I absolutely love how this turned out. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and I can't lie, I was very stressed doing it because the angled rotation was just something to get used to, as well as kind of figuring out the floating islands being so open. It's something that was very new for me, but I genuinely really enjoyed it, and I feel like I created a little spot that I feel like I just wish I could live in, to be honest with you. So that is it. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know down below what you think of my first build with the angled rotation. Obviously we are coming up to 12 days of Buildmas. If you don't know, I am doing a build video for the 12 days leading up till Christmas. So from the 12th to the 24th there will be a brand new build video on my channel. People have been suggesting things, so if you do have anything you want to see, let me know in the comments or in my Discord server, which the link for is in the description. So if you head over there you can obviously give me some more suggestions, but I've already had so many, so I am going to obviously get to those, and then any that I can't get to in Buildmas will be coming in the new year at some point, so don't worry, you will see them. But I'm very excited to do that. But I wanted to get this one up so you guys can see it before Buildmas, and I can also get used to decorating again in DDV before Buildmas, because it was a learning curve. It was something very new for me, but I really enjoyed it, so I hope you guys did too. Let me know down below what you think. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!